Hello there, my name is Annette with Sunbeam Fabric Art. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm taking you through the True Blue block from my Encyclopedia of Quilt Patterns. And something interesting about this pattern, the 4 patches are all going the same way except for one. I don't know why this was decided on, but that is the way I am going to make this block today. I will leave all the pieces that you need in my description of the video. I've got 2 4.5-inch squares. I've got 4 dark 5-inch squares, 4 light 5-inch squares. Then I've got a 2.5-inch by width of fabric white strip and a 2.5 by width of fabric dark strip. The corner units on this block are half square triangles. To start those, I'm taking my light 5-inch squares. I'm drawing a line from corner to corner across the middle of each of my light 5-inch squares. If you're using fabric that has a right and a wrong side, make sure you draw this line on the wrong side. To make this half square triangle, I'm taking my dark fabric, putting it right sides together with my light fabric. I'm going to stitch on both sides of the line that I drew, about 1/4 inch away from the line. Once it's stitched, I am going to cut these apart on that line that I drew. I'm going to press these half square triangles open to the dark side. Now I'm trimming my half square triangles to 4.5 inches. I have a ruler with a diagonal line which helps me. I line that diagonal line up with my seam. Then I make sure that the 4.5 inches is overhanging on the left and the bottom. Then I trim the top, trim the right. Next, I flip the unit around. I line up the diagonal line again and the left and the bottom right on the 4.5 inch lines and trim the other 2 sides. With the half square triangles finished, it's time to make 4 patches. I am taking my long strip of white fabric, it's 2.5 inches wide, and I'm going to put that right sides together with my long strip of dark fabric, and I'm going to stitch a 1/4 inch seam, and then I'm going to press open to the darker side. The nice thing about making 4 patches, you don't have to have a long strip, and I will leave all that information for alternate cuts in my description. Once I pressed that strip to the dark side, it was time to trim the strips. And what I'm going to be doing is trimming them to 2.5 inches wide. First, I'm going to give myself a straight edge, lining up a line on my ruler with the seam, and I'm cutting that straight edge on the right-hand side. Then I'm going to flip the strip set around the other way and use my ruler. My ruler is 12.5 inches, which is a multiple of 2.5. So I'm just lining my ruler up with 12.5 inches first. Then I'm sliding it over to 10 inches. Then I slide it over to 7.5 inches, then 5 inches, and last 2.5 inches. To make my 4 patch, I'm going to take 2 of these units. I'm going to match them up with the darks and the lights opposite from each other, and I'm going to nest the seam. Since I pressed these all to the darker side, we can slide these seams together. They will lock, they will catch. Then I will put a clip to hold that into place till I get to the sewing machine. Now these 4 patches should be real close to 4.5 inches. I like to trim mine though, just to be sure. I'm lining up that middle seam where the 2 seams meet at 2¼ inches on my ruler. That way I'm going to trim these blocks to 4.5 inches. So I'm going to line that up, trim the right and the top. Then I will flip the block around, line that up again, and trim the other 2 sides. Now it's time to lay out our block before we put it together. I'm putting my 4.5 inch light squares in the middle. Then these 4 patches are going around the outside of that in a T shape. And remember from the pattern, the one at the bottom is flipped the opposite way from the other 3 for some reason. And our half square triangles go in the 4 corners with the dark going towards the inside of the block. Next, I'm going to stitch each row together, and then once all 3 rows are put together, I will join the rows to complete the block. Now when I get ready to sew the rows together, I am using clips, and I'm once again using that nesting technique to make sure my seams match up on all these units. And here are my finished blocks. I made 2, and I'm looking forward to, there are only 4 more blocks left in this quilt along, so I'm excited about that. But I really like the way these look, and I can't wait to see them in the finished quilt. Now I did want to show a couple of alternate colorings. I put this block into my computer. I was just trying to figure out why that one 4 patch was turned the opposite way. I really couldn't figure it out, but I did have fun playing around with the colors and the patterns. It's fun just to explore new ways of doing something. I hope you had fun today. I sure did, and I hope to see you back again real soon.